All right, we are back. What's up, everybody? This is William from Before the Billions, and I haven't gone live in a while, but I wanted to come back and say what's up to the people. Shout out to the BTB squad. Shout out to all the people who are watching the live stream right now, and also all the people who are watching the replay. Really do appreciate you all for tuning in. I wanted to bring back the call-in sessions and the call-in live streams that I used to do on the channel. So here we are. We are here with another live stream. I'm going to put the link to join this live stream in the chat. So if anybody wants to call in, that is going to be in the chat. I'm going to start doing more of these live streams again where you can call in. I do have StreamYard. I know a lot of people were having issues with coming on to the live stream using Zoom. So I have Zoom, but I also have StreamYard for people who want to join in on the live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and get into today's topic, which is going to be talking about the Apple settlement, the $95 million Apple settlement. If you're like me, I received an email a few days ago from Apple that was, well, not from Apple, but it was around like that was a topic, that was a subject, and it was talking about a settlement about Siri, and it was talking about how the Siri AI would eavesdrop on your conversations. And if you guys don't understand how Siri or Alexa or all of these voice assistants work, is that they constantly listen in for you to call their name. So when you are saying like, hey Siri, it listens, and see how it came up. It listens for you to say that word or that name. And also another thing is the way that they built Alexa, they made it with that specific name because the X is not as common, so you won't be saying words with the letter X as often. So they came up with Alexa, so that way it knows like a trigger word, and it won't be triggered by so many different words that may sound similar. So that is one of the reasons as to why Alexa works the way it does. And Siri, you cannot be saying the name and then it will come up. It's very common for you to use, like, because Siri, SIRI, it's a lot of different words that can sound like it or use an I or that IRI. So that the language around why they created these voice assistants with those names is so that way when you say a specific word, it comes up and it's always listening to you. So another thing that I wanted to point out too is that if you've ever noticed that when you go onto a social media platform and you notice that an ad from one social media platform goes to the other social media platform, you'll realize that, oh, they're actually tracking a lot of the things that you do, right? That's not only because of the voice assistants, but they do listen in, very similar to how cookies work when you go from one website to another and from one social media platform to another. It's crazy because you can even be saying something or somebody else can say something and then an ad for that thing that was brought up will show up on your social media. So I thought that was really interesting. But let's go ahead and get into an article, and then we'll go into the email of what we received regarding this Apple lawsuit. So I want to say what's up to Professor Black Ops. Shout out to you, PBO. I'm always on Professor Black Ops' channel. I see that he has a live stream coming up later on today, so please go ahead and check him out. I will be in attendance. Thank you so much, PBO. You have won the number one spot. I don't have for some reason I do not have StreamYard set up with that. Oh yeah, I do. Here it is. Coming for that number one spot. All right, man. All right, yep. So whenever you are the first person to show up in the chat, you win the number one spot. PBO says Tuesday. Oh, so it's Tuesday. Okay, so I'm sorry. I saw the notification that you were going to be going live, but it's actually on Tuesday. All right, cool. But let's go ahead and let me share my screen so that way we can go over this together. And let's see. All right, so this is it right here. This is from USA Today, and the title of this article is "Did Apple's Siri eavesdrop on your call? Find out if you're eligible for part of $95 million settlement." All right, so the initial lawsuit was filed in March 17th, 2021 in California federal court. So they have a video right here. I'm going to play a little bit of it, and then I'm reading a little bit of this article, and then we can go into the actual email that they sent.
Apple reached a $95 million settlement this week over a lawsuit accusing the tech giant of using Siri to secretly record Apple users' conversations via iPhones and other devices.
Before we continue, can somebody put a 1 in the chat to say that if you can hear the audio or not? Just want to make sure that the audio is audible. I can hear it in my headphones. I just want to make sure if it is audible via the stream. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and play it back.
Apple reached a $95 million settlement this week over a lawsuit accusing the tech giant of using Siri to secretly record Apple users' conversations via iPhones and other devices. The lawsuit alleges recordings happened even when people did not activate the virtual assistant with the key phrase, "Hey Siri." The suit claims some of the recorded conversations were shared with advertisers in the hopes they could sell their products to potentially interested customers. The allegations appear to be in conflict with Apple's long-running pledge to protect its customers' privacy. As part of the settlement, Apple does not have to admit any wrongdoing. The deal must still be approved by a judge, and lawyers have proposed a February 14th court hearing to review the legal terms. If approved, the agreement would award money to tens of millions of people who owned iPhones and other Apple devices from September 17th, 2014 through the end of last year. Each person would reportedly get $20 for each Siri-equipped device covered in the settlement. The payment could be higher or lower depending on the number of claims filed. Court documents suggest only 3 to 5% of eligible Apple customers are expected to file claims. Lawyers say the settlement is only a small fraction of the roughly $1.5 billion Apple would have paid if found guilty of violating wiretapping and privacy laws if the case went to trial. For more stories like this, download the Straight Arrow News.
All right, so straight to the point. So you could potentially win or be awarded of, was it $20 per Siri-enabled device. Thank you so much, Mike Reed, for confirming that, yes, you indeed can hear on the stream. So let's go through a little bit of this article, and then we go to the actual email that I received. So it says, anyone who's owned an Apple device since 2014 may be eligible to receive part of a $95 million class action lawsuit, which accused the tech company's famous voice assistant of spying on users. The lawsuit, Lopez versus Apple, was filed in a California federal court in 2021 by users who allege their private conversations were being recorded by their Apple devices after unintentionally activating Siri. Although a settlement has been reached, Apple has denied the allegations made in the complaint, according to the legal notice obtained by USA Today. If you owned or purchased a Siri-enabled device and experienced an unintended Siri activation, all right, so it didn't come on that time, a Siri activation during a confidential or private communication between September 17, 2014 and December 31st, 2024. So yeah, a 10-year span. If you've ever experienced Siri ever coming up when you did not want it to, maybe during a private or confidential conversation, you should read this notice as it may impact your legal rights. All right. So it's going to go into a little bit of the lawsuit. It says, what does the lawsuit allege? The lawsuit alleges that people's confidential or private communications were allegedly obtained by Apple and or shared with third parties as a result of an unintended Siri activation. Siri, a voice assistant, activated by saying, "Hey Siri," and it popped up. So if you guys don't know, like I have a Apple device right now. So it says, "Hey Siri, can set reminders, control smart home devices, and make recommendations." However, users in the class action lawsuit claim their Apple devices were recording them without their consent and subsequently sending their information to advertisers who used it to target them with online ads. So I'm gonna be honest with you. There is the technology out there, right? So I went to something called Google Cloud Rise last year. I did a whole video on it, and this guy was talking about how he is. They did some testing in, I believe it was Gambia or one of the African countries, and what they did was they had a Audible QR code, and the purpose of the Audible QR code was to send a signal from the TV to your phone, and then your phone will track what you're actually watching on your TV. So if you're watching a reality TV show, it will start sending messages to your phone, and it can tell how many people are in the room with you, what you're watching, and then what it will do is it will send you advertisements for everything related to the show that you're watching. So if you're watching a show and the characters are in a room, they'll send you an advertisement for the paint that was used on the wall. They'll send you an advertisement for the mount they used to mount the TV, advertisement for the TV, and so on and so forth. So trust and believe that this technology is being worked on, and they're actually testing it on people right now. So Apple says that they admit to no wrongdoing, and I saw it firsthand where people are actually pitching this to gain funding so that way they can start making this and launching it into production into other countries. So this is actually something that is very much so being worked on. Users claim they saw ads on their phones for specific brands after discussing them aloud and others said their devices listened to them without them having said anything at all. The initial lawsuit filed on March 17, 2021, cites a 2019 article from The Guardian that found Apple's third-party contractors regularly heard confidential information at the time. Apple said only a small portion of data was shared to help improve Siri and dictation. USA Today contacted Apple on May 11th, but has not received a response. So, I'm gonna be honest with you. Whenever that comes up, and it says, like, oh, do you actually want to share your data with Apple or whatever it is? Like, I always say no. That's just me personally. I always say no. I always will say, like, no thank you to whatever, like, will you share your data to make things better? I know a lot of people do actually click yes for it, but I just don't feel the need to share my data, especially if I can opt out of it. So what I'm going to do is, I don't see anybody calling up, so I'm going to go forward with the email that I received. I put it into a Google Doc. There we go. Let's see. All right, so this is the Google Doc. I put the email in. All right, so I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to read, a good amount of it, so that way we can kind of see what we need to be looking out for. Okay, so it says a settlement has been reached with Apple Inc. in a class action lawsuit brought on behalf of current or former owners or purchasers of a Siri-enabled iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, MacBook, iMac, HomePod, iPod. I never heard of a HomePod before. iPod Touch. So I think I had an iPod Touch back then. I think I did. Or Apple TV, whose confidential or private communications were allegedly obtained by Apple and or shared with third parties as a result of an unintended Siri activation. So, reiterating what we've already said, but adding on a little bit more context of what devices fall under this. And one thing that I noticed is that when it says Apple TV, if you have a Roku TV, that also could... I've seen Roku TVs where they actually have Apple TV as well. Or is it just only the devices, right? Or is it Siri-enabled devices? Because I have definitely seen Apple TV as the app on like a Roku TV or like a smart TV. All right, so... and it says, why am I receiving this? It says, Apple's records indicate that you may be a member of the settlement class. So I will be considered, like they sent it to me directly. So I will be considered a member of the settlement class and may be entitled to receive a payment. Okay, let's see. What does a settlement provide? Apple has agreed to pay $95 million into a settlement fund after deducting court-approved attorneys' fees and expenses. All right, service awards and the costs of notice and settlement administration, including any taxes. Payments will be made from the net settlement amount to settlement class members who submit a valid and timely claim form. All right, so you need to go to this website in order to see more about it. So let's go to that website. So here's the website. Here it says Lopez versus Apple Inc. has some more information for you guys. It says if you owned or purchased a Siri-enabled device and experienced an unintended Siri activation between September 17th, 2014 and December 31st, 2024. If you see me looking down, I'm like trying to turn Siri off, but because every time I say it, it keeps coming up. All right, so and then also you can say it in Spanish. All right, so here are the important dates. If you're watching after this date, if you just were interested, then here are the dates that you can look at. It says July 2nd, 2024 is the claim deadline, exclusion deadline, and objection deadline. So it's coming up in July 2nd, 2025. August 1st is a final approval hearing. And what if this means that if you have a final approval hearing, does that mean that you have to come in? All right. Before we continue, I want to give a huge shout out to JT Coin Ring. Shout out to JT Coin Rings, always coming in with the support. I appreciate you, man. It says hello, BTB and chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Glad to be getting back into the streaming, right? Getting my my streaming experience back up. All right, so a few things I want to go through right here. Let's see. So, kind of the same information again. Says the settlement class who submit a valid claim shall receive a pro rata portion of the net settlement amount of up to a cap of $20 per SIRI device. I wonder, is it even worth it to put in a claim for $20 per device? How many Apple devices have you had? I remember, you know what? I'm gonna tell you guys this. I met Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews the other day. NTR. I met him like last month, and really cool guy. What he told me, he was like, "Oh man, you have an Apple and you're supposed to be a tech guy?" So I was sitting here thinking, like, are tech guys not supposed to have Apple devices? You know, at least you get $20 per device. You know, I don't think they can really do that with Android. If you received an email or postcard with a claim identification code and a confirmation code notifying you about the settlement, use these codes when making a claim. If you did not receive an email or postcard about the settlement and don't have these codes, but believe you are a member of the settlement class, you may still get the claim. Okay, so if you just believe that you are. You can also opt out or object to the settlement. Your rights are affected whether you act or don't act. Okay? You know what? You can exclude. Okay, so you can exclude yourself. This is the only option that allows you to keep your right to bring any other claim against Apple arising out of or related to the claims in this case. Okay. So I guess when you put in a claim, they have to prove that it actually was true, that you indeed had an Apple device. It says, do nothing, give up rights, and be bound by the settlement. That is interesting. But yeah, so that is essentially what you needed to know. And if you wanted to, it says, how do you actually go about filing a claim? In order to receive a payment, you must complete and submit a valid claim form by July 2nd. And then, okay, so you can submit it online using this website. And I'll just put that in the chat. Why not? I was surprised when I saw it. Here goes the link to the website. But yeah. So overall, guys, I have a few questions for you. Well, the first one is it worth it to submit a claim for $20 per Apple device? Second question I have for you is, do you believe that this will lead to other tech companies also being sued through class action lawsuits, or them having to make some radical changes on how voice assistants and also AI work when it comes to your mobile device, or and not even just your mobile device, but even your entertainment device or your home system? There's a lot of things. I remember Professor Blackhouse will always say this. He says that whenever you are able to interact with a device remotely, other people can also interact with that same device. So if you have a smart home or a thermometer that's smart that you can control on your phone, just know that somebody else can also control your device as well. So just take that understanding that whether it is Apple, whether it's you, or somebody else who just gained access to your system, understand that these devices leave you more vulnerable. They add in more convenience, but make you more vulnerable to things like this happening, where maybe your private information may get out. All right, so a short live stream, but overall, I think that I'm back at live streaming. I hadn't live streamed in several months, almost a year actually, and I'm glad to be back. I want to give a huge shout out to all the people who watched the live stream during the live, and also a huge shout out to people who are watching the replay. I could not be here without you guys. A lot of great things coming up. I will be telling you guys about all the things I have planned for the channel, and also looking forward to speaking with you all as well as we continue to have more call-in shows. And I'll give a huge shout out to JT Coin Rings as well for giving that super chat. I really do appreciate you, man. And shout out to everybody who was able to participate in the live stream as well. That being said, guys, I will see you all in the next video. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I really do appreciate it.